that sets you apart from all the other people who are out there doing the same thing?
So there are a number of things that we do differently, both me personally and the team. The first thing I would say is that we have a team. So as we've generated success and as I became, as I started doing a lot more transactions, it became important to me to make sure that we weren't dropping the level of service. The only way to make sure that we were doing that was to hire support staff that could make sure that all of the pieces of the transaction were happening consistently behind the scenes while I was working with more customers. So we have a listing coordinator who inputs our listings and coordinates the photography and does those types of things. I have a closing manager who, once a contract is done, manages the contract to close process in terms of communicating with the title office and the attorney and making sure that all of the, I's get dotted, the T's get crossed, and that all the things happen along the way, while allowing me to stay in connection, in contact with the customers, and to keep working with people, in the field. So we have a team and we've got a support staff that makes it possible for us to work with more customers and still deliver excellent service. So that's one unique thing. I've been in Atlanta, and I've been in particular in the in-town part of Atlanta for the last 20 years as a resident, so I know the market very well because I've actually lived through most of the buildings being built and most of the renovation of the neighborhoods. So it's not like I'm going through and trying to learn something in terms of how a community behaves or in terms of what direction a neighborhood's going. I've literally seen them transition and see them change. And for the last 10 years, I've been selling real estate in that market. So I have a good depth of history from a sales perspective as well. The thing that makes me unique in terms of my approach to customers is that I've been selling in some form or another for most of my life, from the time I was a pretty small kid. My parents were entrepreneurs and they had their own businesses, so I was engaged in that kind of interaction with people from an early age. And so I'm very comfortable when I sit down with somebody having a conversational style interaction. So even though I have a very formal process in terms of what's going to happen in order to make sure that we deliver the best result for you in terms of a real estate transaction, it feels very informal and very casual to the consumer, to the client, and that allows them to be very comfortable in the process. And as they talk informally, I'm distilling a very specific set of criteria that's going to lead us to the right neighborhood, and the right home, and the best ultimate experience for them in terms of lifestyle once they then move into that property. The other thing that makes me unique is that my background is actually in software technology. If you know anything about real estate these days, you know that there's an app for absolutely everything. I mean, you can stand in front of a home and take a picture and get stats on the property. You can, search every property, whether it's on the market or off the market. There's all kinds of data that inundates consumers, and that's both good and bad. It's really good for consumers to be able to have that information, but it's also overwhelming to most consumers. They get confused by how much information is there, and especially by the fact that when they're getting that information, they're typically getting it with a lot of ads on top of it, right? So they've got screens blinking at them, and they've got different sets of information being, prioritized or repositioned based on whatever marketing or advertising drives a site, as opposed to what's best for them. Because I have the software background, I have the ability to take that criteria that I've distilled when I'm listening to them and create a very specific search that's going to narrow down the set of property that we're looking at, the neighborhoods that we're looking at, and to take a ton of time out of that process. So like in Metro Atlanta, there's over 30,000 listings right now. That's a lot of property to try to go through. And if you're trying to search by 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Atlanta, you might literally have 12,000 results. That's a crazy number for somebody to try to weed through. But if you tell me in a conversation what it is that you're looking for, I'm not likely to send you more than about 5 to 15 properties. And it's because of my expertise both in the market, in communicating with people, and in software technology that I'm able to really distill that down and save the consumer that time and that effort to make it a much more streamlined process for them, and to make it so that they're able to focus on what's important in the process rather than being confused and frustrated by all of that data that the market is throwing at them.